Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Vocal Studios podcast, Find Your Inner Voice. We talk about singing, music, vocal coaching, and the life around it. We are the vocal coaches at the Vocal Studio Singapore, and you are joining our podcast, Find Your Inner Voice. Hi, this is Hannah, and hello.
Hi, this is Boyana.
Yeah, so this week we're going to talk about our newly launching workshop, right? So Boyana has been working with the students on Rock last month under our series of vocal workshops covering different genres of popular music studies.
Yes.
Next month we're opening our new group lessons on jazz. It's going to be online lessons. So we will discuss a little bit about what the lessons going to be, what the workshops are going to be like, and what will be covered, and a short intro of jazz to you so that you have a better understanding of what jazz is like and what are the key artists, right? Okay, so Brianna.
Yes. Hi, thanks for the introduction, Hannah. Good afternoon, good evening to all of you who are listening in to us at the moment. Well, we are covering out of the 4 genres that are included in the popular music studies curriculum. I will be covering the genre of jazz very soon. This is not this week, next week on Saturday, as Hannah mentioned. And I hope all of you who attended the previous lessons enjoyed it so far. And I hope that you understood the importance of studying the different music genres and that you find this helpful. So now we're talking about jazz, right? Today, we have, this is like, the origins and it came from blues. Basically right after blues there was the jazz happened, but it's a genre of music that I believe that every musician has to learn, and every singer has to learn at some point in their lives, because of a variety of reasons. I myself come from I came from per se classical music background, and then I switched into jazz, which was it was like an inner call for me
here.
It's a huge shift. It's a huge shift, and but it's worth it. But it's not easy. It was not easy because jazz music and how it sounds like to someone who came from a classical music world, it was like, whoa. It was a shock, right? But if you allow yourself to immerse into this style of music, even though sometimes it might sound too complicated for the ordinary listener, or for someone who wants to just be a singer and just sing songs. I encourage that you think about studying this genre, because you will benefit a lot from it. Now, what I mean by that is usually when singers sing, they will, this is the same goes for instrumentalists, they will evolve around one melody, which is very simple, which has simple chords and they're easy to catch. In jazz, it's not like that. In jazz, it's the other way around. So you have to attune your musical ears a lot to all the differences of chords that there are in there. Then you're going to have to learn how to improvise. You're going to have to learn how to scat. You're going to have to learn, the history of music. It's something that I always pay a lot of attention to. This is why the popular music studies are something that I came out with. So do emerge into the studying of this genre, because you will like it. More you do it, more you like it. That's how it is.
A lot of people, I think in Singapore and anywhere in the world, people do have this, fascination and the interest and curiosity about the jazz as a genre. And then it feels like the music flows really nicely. It's really nice to listen to. But when it comes to actually learning it, if you are not doing, specializing in music, if you're really devoted in jazz as a genre that you perform or you learn, and it feels for some people that it can feel a bit overwhelming overwhelming, right?
Yes, yes,
I
yeah,
don't
that
really
is
know
true.
jazz. I listen to like maybe several tunes, but then is it, even possible if I don't come from any musical background, is it possible for me to learn jazz? Isn't it too hard? Isn't it too complicated? Um, what do you think? Do you
Yeah.
think it is still possible for the students who don't have as much, like a big background of the music to come to the jazz genre to, learn and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy?
Well, yes, that's a good question. Thank you for asking, Hannah. So this is you know how it is. There are people who are born and they know that they like to study jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's an inclination towards the genre, but they don't necessarily have to be musicians.
Mm-hmm.
There are musicians already just by they will start learning music and they will choose jazz. I think it's kind of, do you like it or you don't? Or you appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like it so much and if you find it difficult to study, then at least you would appreciate the genre. But it depends on the approach and depends on what you want to study and why you want to take jazz as a matter of study, as a part of your studies. You have to understand maybe if you think as a musician, yeah, you would definitely, would have to sooner or later go through the genre, just because it's going to enlarge your musicianship and it's going to enlarge it's going to make you a better musician, more versatile, more understanding. But for those who are, are taking lessons or playing for fun,
Mm-hmm.
I would advise it just for them to get to understand what the genre is about, because it is an important one. And a lot of nowadays music has actually has come from jazz. So it's advisable. I advise people that they at least get to know a little bit about it, just some basic of jazz. Because the thing is, if you want to be a jazz musician, you really have to immerse into jazz itself, and because it takes time for you to learn everything and to go through all the music, find your own voice in jazz as a singer, to be able to express yourself authentically, because as for singers, it's all about authenticity. So you have to be very authentic. For that, it takes time. You have to develop your own character as a jazz musician. But for those who are keen to explore themselves and like to push forward in music and like music and love music, yes, you should go for it.
So, okay. So if I want to sign up for the jazz lesson,
yes,
what are the things that will be covered for this
okay
workshop? It's
so we will be,
right?
yeah. We're going to have four lessons in jazz. I mean, obviously 4 lessons. I'm gonna cover a lot about the origins of jazz, where did it came from, and then the developments of sort of different, not subgenres, but how jazz developed and the form it was taken over the years. And then we'll talk a little bit about harmony and theory, but not too much, because we are trying to get as many information as possible, give the students as many information possible. And then we will focus on one song, which is jazz. And then with that song, we want to sort of learn the structure of one jazz piece, So I think that's enough for those who want to get introduced to the genre. But for those who want to follow a little more, it takes a little. They're gonna have to take more than 4 lessons.
Yes, definitely. I think 4 weeks of time is going to be a really exciting, time to get introduced to.
Yeah.
Have a nice meet up, right?
Yes.
And basic understanding about what jazz is about. Oh, okay, nice. So, and then they'll be also learning the song together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Any song that you have in mind that you'll be teaching?
I have to double check in my own choice what I chose.
But several choices probably you are considering now.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of songs that we can do, and that there are for beginner level and advanced level as well. They can be done. Songs such as "All of Me," "Old Blues," but not for me. "There Will Never Be Another You." So these are a few titles that we can start with.
Okay.
Yeah. So what can we maybe talk a little bit more about what is jazz, and a little bit of definition, if we can define this a very vast and a special genre. Okay, if you listen to the genre itself from a musical perspective, right? It's characterized by improvisation, syncopation, and usually there's a very regular beat or a tempo that follows through the whole song, unless we are talking about a ballad, which includes, you know, slowing down of tempo and a mix between instruments and backing off of the tempo. But, you know, if you hear, for instance, if you hear this kind of rhythm, right, you know that is, oh, that sounds like jazz, but you don't know anything about it, but yes, it sounds like jazz. This is swing. So you know, we have to kind of learn. We will see how a jazz composition sound like. And then in terms of instrumentation, usually there will be drums, there will be bass, there will be piano. Like this is the basic combo that we usually see the lineup for jazz composition for this genre of music. Then would eventually, you know, trumpets, horns, brass and woodwind instruments, and piano are particularly associated with jazz, as we all know. Not all of us, but those who follow. And some guitars occasionally are there, violins as well, but this is really typical depending on which genre and where exactly you navigate. There's a lot of different developments of jazz. So as a musical form, it's a lot about, I mean, maybe we should go a little bit back as well. It was developed by African Americans and was influenced by both European harmonies, so harmonic structure, and African rhythms. So this was the combination that you would hear. I mean, the first thing that like you have to think about it when you listen to jazz music is this. So the European harmonic structure and African rhythms. It was developed partially from blues and some folk as well, ragtime. There was a lot of syncopated rhythms, you know, and a variety of improvisations were there. This is very, very common for jazz. I mean, the term improvise, when I hear improvise, I always think about jazz because we improvise a lot when we sing jazz. So improvisation, it's also, what is improvisation? When the instruments start playing, you know, some kind of melodies over the whole song or over like half of the song, they come up with their own melodies. So that's also very typical for jazz. And what also it's interesting is that you can have that anyone who, you know, in this genre, you can hear a lot of different sounds merging together, you know, which means that any artist, this is especially interesting for singers and for instrumentalists, of course, we are capable of, you know, putting our own natural sound to jazz if we want to, you know. So there's a lot of that. That's just a little bit.
So
what is jazz? Kind of a little.
Jazz? When we listen to jazz, the biggest, like a big thing, the concept that we can always think of is improvisation part. Yeah, definitely there. And it's also very interesting. It's very nice to know that, you know, how the jazz even started as a genre that combines so many different aspects of music and different genres of music, how it brought like African, right, and then the European music together, like the rhythm is there, but then like it was added on to the previous musical structure or melody line that was done probably in the more classical way, right?
So not necessarily when it comes the harmonies were not very much, you know, they didn't evolve so much around European classical music, but the chords were different, you know, these diminished augmented chords, the seventh, the ninth, and those chords that have, you know, plenty of notes inside, and then you really have to know when and how to play it. So that's the approach of you know, the classical music. And jazz is completely different because in classical music we don't normally play chords.
Yes, you're following all the pieces.
You're following every single note. So this is you. So you're very, very focused, structured on the and you have a very structured way of you know, training your brain when you do classical music. Whereas in jazz, well, more you learn it, more you learn that, oh, I didn't know this. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do this. It's like an everlasting, like an ever learning field that you
New
can
discovery
explore.
is happening, right?
Yeah.
Every time you play it.
Yeah, it does have its own form. It does have its own form. It means, it's not like a formless music, because improvising and scatting, yes, they're part of it, but there's always a form to follow. Which is also, some kind of frame like we have in classical music. There is a form to follow, but you can express yourself a lot more in jazz than in any other style of music.
I see. Yeah, so that's great.
Sounds good. I think it sounds interesting, right?
And there will be also like more, yes, in the actual lesson, you'll be more introducing more about how it developed into, subcontext. So I think that'll be covered in the in the workshop. How about some of key artists, different times and different era, in different places that we can look into to better understand. Especially if it's vocalists, I think it's also nice.
Yeah, to have some singers. Well, there's plenty of instrumentalists came first, from what we know through history, and then there was few figures. Singing figures or singing musicians that came into, and they were like really the key figures of jazz. There's loads, but let's just talk about a few that I sort of made a selection of. Then we've got Miles Davis, the trumpet player, legendary. We all know there was a film about him that came out around 3-4 years ago. That talks about his music, and you can watch it if you wish. Then there's Louis Armstrong. We all know Louis Armstrong, right? It's very recognizable. And again, a trumpeter. Then we've got Sir Duke Ellington, who was a composer, pianist, and leader of a jazz orchestra, and he was one of the first ones, and he was brilliant, and he's done plenty of compositions and orchestration for jazz. Then we've got John Coltrane, who was a jazz saxophonist and composer, who was kind of going through very different phases in his jazz career, but let's not talk about it now. Then we've got Ella Fitzgerald, who's the queen of jazz, and we all know that she's like the key figure. I think with whoever you mention Ella Fitzgerald to, they will know who she is. So she's definitely someone to look at. Then we've got Billie Holiday, amazing singer, who we also have to, you can also check her out. Completely different from Ella Fitzgerald in many ways, the timbre of the voice and everything. Then we've got Charlie Parker, jazz saxophonist and composer. Thelonious Monk, pianist and composer. Dizzy Gillespie, jazz trumpeter and leader and composer, and band leader and composer. And then let's not forget Frank Sinatra. I put Frank here because he was a very important figure for jazz. I'll go back to it later. And we've got Miss Sarah Vaughan, which I personally love a lot because she has a little bit of a classical tone to her, and that is also something that I love. And she's an amazing singer, of course. And these are a few names that you guys can look at.
Amazing. I think, Louis Armstrong, for example, not so many people would remember, unless you are really in the scene, would actually know that he used to be a trumpeter. He's actually instrumentalist, and because of that voice that he carries and the kind of expression that he has when he sings, so it's interesting to know a lot of saxophonists, a lot of keyboardists, and the vocalists that really in jazz, even though it is we call them as jazz artists, if you listen to different singers or the artists, like the musicians, they play, it will be totally different, right? It's a new world. Everybody has their own world, even though you're there playing the jazz pieces. I think so we'll be able to discover all this variety and the beauty of the music through meeting.
Absolutely. It's very interesting. You would appreciate music more if you go and learn a bit, and if you go into depths of jazz. So that's absolutely sure.
Thank you for suggesting.
Thank you. Have we covered everything? Wow. I see. There's plenty of things to talk about. There's still more, but let's not discover it all.
Going. Yes. So if anyone is interested, if you want to know more deeply about what jazz is, maybe if you haven't really learned or experienced what jazz is, I think it's a great chance for you to have that nice connection with jazz. And also it's really fun, you know, like singing, especially when it's jazz, when it's improvisation. What I kind of realized is that uh, um, improvisation, you have to come up with something of your own, right? So it can be quite challenging. You don't know where to go, but then it's really motivating and inspiring when you have somebody as a guide, who can demonstrate, who can really like bring you like that, you know, with the guide you with the melody and the structure and form. It will be really fun. I think it's gonna be really fun to just
Yeah,
know
it
it.
should. It will be. Please don't be afraid.
Yes.
Please don't be afraid. Jazz is your friend. It is
Jazz
your
is your
friend.
friend.
It's like your best friend. It's always there. It's like that friend that's like goes so deep into things and like, you know. So it's a faithful one for sure.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Boyana, for sharing.
Thank you very much for watching, all of you, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks' time from now.
All righty. Okay. Thanks,
Soon.
everyone,
Thank you,
for
Hannah.
joining our podcast, and we'll be back to you next Friday.
We'll be back soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.